Let's make some noise. Come on.
That's right indeed, Nick Foles. Let's make some noise, everybody. Welcome back to the program here on the Ep304 Sports Network. The final word of MattyB, coming at you for a record-setting fourth time this week. It's been the first time we've done a four-banger in quite some time, and it's definitely a sign of things to come as we are getting into that part of the year. As I mentioned this almost on a nightly basis now, as I'm telling you that my schedule is beginning to lighten up, and I am not kidding. But boy, it's still busy, but there is gaps in the day now where there wasn't before earlier this summer. And as I sit here, and I can already kind of tell where I'm at in the world, that it is starting to slowly but surely change, coming out of that feeling of dead summer now into that feeling of late summer. You guys know what I mean by late summer feeling. That, you know, you kind of get that, you kind of have that feeling that the colder days are coming, that the warmer days are behind us, that kind of feeling. And as I sit back, and I actually had a minute to do this today and reflect upon another summer of just a lot of work. And I keep wondering, and I remember when I was a kid and we used to live for the summers, man. Now I can't stand them. I really can't. Honestly, it's a lot of work. But we are getting into that part of the year, and that's a good thing overall. So I'm excited to be kind of coming at you here. You know, in an ability to give you more of a product and be more kind of involved in what's happening on a daily basis on this network. And it's great to be sort of getting back into that setup. So welcome back to the final word on the Ep304 Sports Network, our final broadcast episode of our week. We will go into our normal weekend hiatus and return, I believe, on Sunday. Let's see. I got the calendar here. Why am I guessing? No, we will not be back on Sunday. Wow. So this is going to be the last final word till Monday. Yeah, that's right. I can't do it Sunday. Yeah, I just remembered why. So, yeah, get me in while you can, because you're not going to see me on the final word again till Monday night. So we're going to make this one count. And title of the show tonight, or the theme, is There's No Time to Stop. And as we get as the calendar begins to sort of move on from August and turn into September, we get into the best, or the busiest, second best baseball month of the year, being at September. And I think it's safe to say, barring a complete and utter collapse over the course of the next, 10 days, that we are going to have, actually probably wouldn't even matter, even if they went 0-10 the remainder of the month, they would still have relevant baseball in September. And by my calculations, that makes what? How many years in a row now have we? Can we sit here and say that we're going to have relevant Phillies baseball in September, or meaningful Phillies baseball in September? Let's go back in the Wayback Machine, and I believe it was 2018, right? Or was 2017 the first? No, it was 2018. We'll give 2018 as the first year of the return to relevancy of the Phillies. So 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 9 years. 9 consecutive seasons of relevant September baseball is upon us, and I don't think we, as a fan base, I think we've lost sight of that. I think we've lost sight of how bad things can be, and I know I am not the one that's going to rally for second place and rally for playoffs, or anything but a championship equals success. I am totally on board with that, and I totally believe that. But in such a cursed, awful franchise in times as the Phillies have been in their history, to go 9 consecutive seasons with relevant, meaningful September baseball is something of noteworthiness. And I think we should take a minute and reflect upon that and express our gratitude. Now, of course, on the other side of that coin, 9 relevant seasons, 9 meaningful Septembers have equaled 0 World Series championships. I get you there. And again, I don't know if we're any closer this year than we've been in the other years, but there is something to be said about 9 straight meaningful Septembers of baseball for the Phillies. It wasn't long ago where those weren't necessarily guaranteed. It wasn't long ago when the baseball season in Philadelphia was over around June 30th. And here we sit, 9 seasons straight of relevant, meaningful September baseball. So congratulations to the Phillies and to the Phillies faithful who stick with them. And welcome to your 9th straight meaningful September of baseball. So I'm looking forward to that. The Eagles continue with the drama that is AJ Brown, and I know that the media, and again, I don't, I don't recognize my part in this. I don't, and I'm not gonna. The media and the definition of the media to me is just such a subjective thing these days. But I mean, I know people all the time ask people, do you really mean what you say? And they ask this of me all the time. Are you really like this? Are these actually your takes? Or are you trying to sort of stir a pot? I have never purposely stirred a pot in my life. Honestly, I have never gone through a hot take that I did not believe, or I've never gone through a take that I did not believe. And I can sit here and honestly tell you that. Now, I know that's not the case in the bigger world of the media, and drama sells, and all that stuff sells, right? It's not good when when everything is running smooth. It has to be messed up in order for it to be to sell. But the constant obsession with the AJ Brown and Jalen Hurts and the other Eagle members and their relationship off the field, and their disdain for each other, love for each other, ability to get along with each other, all that is really overshadowing what should be a very exciting time of the summer when we're getting ready for meaningful football. And I honestly, for one, I cannot wait for the Eagle joint practices with the Patriots to be done with. So maybe we can move on and discuss more about how Jalen Hurts can't complete passes over the middle and is consistently getting picked off in practice. I want to get back to those conversations, the good old-fashioned stuff, not this other stuff. I don't want the actual fabricated drama. I want the real drama, okay? So the Eagles continue their thing up there in Foxborough, and we are getting set for week 2 of the preseason, which we will have for you post-game on the It's a Wrap Sports Network. The Birds Fly By, our official Eagle post-game show. I will be on the call on Saturday night after the Patriots-Eagles, whenever that game will come final. I will be there for you, and we will have some fun with that one. I don't know if any of the players that we have grown to know and love will play in this game, but we'll break this game down a little bit. We'll see where it takes us. Have we learned our lesson? If the starters don't play, and if it's backup city again, are they going to be better and more prepared than they were last week against the Baltimore Ravens? Is the offense going to look like it actually knows how to operate, regardless of who's behind center or who's catching passes or running behind the offensive line or the offensive line itself? Are we going to see some improvements? Are we going to see some visible progress? Because that's all I keep hearing about is invisible progress. For those of you that don't remember the infamous quote of what's his name? What's Bozo's name? Nick Sirianni at the beginning of OTAs when he said, it's not progress that you can see on the surface, but it's invisible progress. Now, of course, at what point now are we waiting to see some visible progress? That's what I want to know. Because when are we going to see some visible progress? But we'll get into that. We'll get into the Eagles conversation. We're about a month away from the start of the Flyer season, and I touched on this last night a bit, and I know it's not necessarily a conversation that I think is going to get much traction right now, but for the Flyer fans out there, me included, and for people who consider hockey as one of their top 2 or 3 sports, which I do, where do you stand with the Flyers as we get ready for the season? I don't stand anywhere differently than I stood when the season ended, because essentially this is the same team. And so far, and we're running out of days to consider this an offseason. The offseason is dwindling in the NHL. And actually, I don't even know if it's officially over. I know they have not gone to camp yet, but that they'll go to camp here in about 2 or 3 weeks. And then you'll say it's officially over. But right now, Danny Briere, he gets a big old fat F for his offseason. This was, in my opinion, this was his most important offseason. What was he going to do with the Flyers' second-round playoff appearance? What was he going to do to sort of continue to ride the momentum of that second-round playoff appearance? And he's come up short, and he gets a big F for his offseason. There is no substantial improvement on this hockey team than, what we hopefully will see from developing young players. But again, the same questions that have dogged this team for the last 3 or 4 years will dog them in this coming season. So Danny Breer gets an F, but he seems to get a pass. He seems to get a pass in his town because of what, some of his visible progress and getting the Flyers back into the playoffs. But goddamn, man, we can't use the rebuild anymore. That excuse is gone. This is not a rebuild anymore. Now it's an aggressive retool, right? We can't go backwards. You can't go from the second round of the playoffs and then expect to still lean on the rebuild sword. No, it doesn't work like that. Danny B got an F in his offseason for me. So if you want to talk Flyers, we can. If you want to talk Sixers, we can. My stepson desperately wants to go to see LeBron James play at the arena. I desperately do not want to go to see LeBron James play at the arena or any other venue. And my wife, his mother, has been looking at prices of tickets. And listen, I'm going to call it ignorant here because it's been probably 25 years since I've scanned anywhere looking for NBA tickets. But we're looking at tickets somewhere in the standing room only area of the arena for upwards of $300 a ticket. What the hell is going on, man? I mean, I get $300. I wouldn't go and see me play in an arena for $300 a ticket. Jesus Christ. $300 for standing room? Like up there in the mezzanine? Oh, Christ, man. I am not paying that much money to go see Joel Embiid and LeBron James. I just ain't doing it. And I'm putting my foot down. God damn it. We're not spending that kind of money. I wear the pants around here. Damn it. We're not doing that. Well, we'll see. But I'm not going. I can tell you that much. I ain't going. I'm going to put my foot down in that aspect. I'm not going to go. Well, we talk Sixers. So it's all up on the table right now. Everything you want to talk about, I am going to open up the phone lines right now because it's a free-for-all tonight. We got no Phillies game, so we got nothing really to react about right now. No instant or latest reactions. I'll open the phone lines. You guys know how to deal with it. And Ricky Deal's already chiming in and asking me if they're going to open. Yes, Ricky, they will open. So the phone lines are open if you guys want to get in. You guys know the drill. There's Ricky saying, hey, are the phone lines open? They are. They are open now. So, Ricky, if you want to hop on. Anybody else wants to hop on. I'll put you up on the stage. You don't have to have your camera on if you don't feel comfortable, but I do need to be able to talk to you, and I do need to be able to hear you. So, please, your mic has to be on, but your camera does not. So, chime in. You know the drill, and we'll have some fun. So let's get things rolling on the show tonight. But before I do, again, let me remind everybody, this is what's coming up for the remainder of your week. We do have a change to the schedule. Tomorrow night, actually. Friday night. So the 9 p.m. Philly Friday Frenzy / Fightins final will be delayed a little bit, probably by about an hour and a half. Big Al's got to do something last minute. So he's probably going to come on more. They're on the 10 o'clock hour than the 9 o'clock hour. So just be cognizant of that. And at 6:45 tomorrow night, Steel City Sunday will return. Last week, John Phillips and the gang came back and did a preseason sort of check-in and debut as the Steelers were getting ready to kick it off against the Packers tomorrow night. They'll be back for Steelers-Jets pregame and talk some more about the Steelers and the Jets. So that's a scheduling change for tomorrow. So tomorrow, 6:45, Steel City Sunday will be making a second appearance as they'll get ready for some Steelers-Jets. And, of course, Big Al will go off more towards 10 o'clock than 9 o'clock due to a scheduling change. So be aware of all that. Saturday is the best of the It's Sports of the week. The Fightins final, which will be me and the Cardinals, and then the Birds Flyby, which will be me and the Patriots. And then on Sunday, no Philly AM sports this week, just me doing postgame. So there's your schedule for the rest of this week on the It's Rap Sports Network. So there you have it. And Ricky, I see about you, but before I bring you on, let's get our housekeeping out of the way. Let's do our day in Philadelphia sports history. Let's strap it in, strap it on, strap it up. Keep your head, hands, and feet inside the car at all times, and let's go. On this day in 1961, this was a day in Philly's history that will be remembered by setting and ending a dubious team record. In game one of a doubleheader, the Phillies lost to the Milwaukee Braves 5-2, extending its team record losing streak to an astonishing 23 games. Holy crap. 23-game losing streak. In game two, the streak was finally snapped in a 7-4 win. Before the win, Philadelphia was 12-8 or 1-28 in their previous 29 and had managed separate losing streaks on the season of 10, 8, and 7 games. They finished the year in last place at a whopping 47-107. Woo! On the year, Hall of Famer Robin Roberts was 1-10, while 3 other Philly starters lost at least 16 games. Art McGaffney lost 19, John Burshart lost 18, Frank Sullivan lost 16. Of the offensive starters, only Tony Gonzalez, who batted 277, hit over 266. God damn it, we think we got it bad. Boy, there have been some bad Phillies teams in the history of this organization. And on this day, the Phillies set and ended a streak all on the same day in a doubleheader. So there you have it. Those 1961 Phillies, boy. And that, of course, was your day in Philadelphia sports history, brought to you by our Phillies post game, the Fightins Final. And here you have our Fightins Final lineup for the upcoming weekend series against the St. Louis Cardinals. Another must-win series. They all are at this point. The Phillies need to continue to run their momentum. Don't stop. They can't stop now. They got to let it. They got to keep rolling through this. Keep winning games characterly wise. Keep trying to find new ways to win and not relying on the home run. But Big Al will have you as part of a 2 for tomorrow night at some point with the Philly Friday Frenzy. I'll be back on Saturday night, and I will also be back on Sunday. I have a legit shot this weekend of getting over 500 as the host of the Fightins Final. And I have not been over 500 in a minute, probably since June, maybe even earlier than that. So try to come see me, hopefully get above the Mendoza line, or I guess that's above 200. Get above 500. There you go. So that's coming up over the weekend as we get set for the Cardinals. They're getting ready to come to town. And yes, the City Connect uniforms will return tomorrow night for only the 7th time in 2026. And hopefully we're winding them down too. Let's hope this is the last hurrah for the current Phillies City Connect uniforms. All right, let's bring on the phones. And my man Ricky Deal is with us. Ricky, how are you tonight?
I've been on this earth 80 years. No one's asked me that question. Leave me alone. What do you make of the professionalism of the
Ricky, you there?
Could have done better. AI swab.
I'm here.
How are you tonight, Ricky Deal?
I'm good.
Very, very good to hear from you. Very good to hear that you're doing good, Ricky. What can I do for you tonight? What's on your mind? What do you want to talk about? Action.
Then tell me.
I heard let's go, and Ricky froze. But I'm going to go out on a limb and say Ricky said let's go Phillies. Is that what you said? Ricky, you there? Ricky?
To talk to him. Yeah.
Ricky, you there? All right, Ricky's connection is all confungled. So I'm going to put Ricky backstage. Ricky, you can try to come back in. If not, I will talk to you, of course, again. This is just what it is. You know, we go through this on a nightly basis with Ricky. Nothing new here. I think Ricky said, let's go Phillies. And I echo that sentiment. I really, really do. I really believe. Again, I took some heat last night, but I'm not going to back off from it. I really think, and I've never wavered from the fact that the Phillies are going to make the playoffs. That's been on my mind since the day one of the spring. I remember very vividly driving down south. I was going to driving down to Tennessee. It was in I don't know, February 24th or something like that. It was like the first week of spring training of games, and I was listening to one on the radio, and I even remember even back then, you know, at that stage of the season, believing that the Phillies were a playoff team. Now, I was not in you know, obviously believing that they were a World Series contender. I don't, because I was very, very opposed to yet another bad offseason by Dave Dombrowski, and it turned out it was. But I was not on board with a World Series, but I was on board with a playoff appearance. And I still believe that they're going to do that. I really do. I think barring a complete disaster, I think the odds are in their favor. They're going to make the playoffs in some way, shape, or form. And I do hope, and this is honest, this is not just hot take talk. I do hope they don't win the division. I truly do. I want them to kind of ebb again. I want the flow to end and I want the ebb to begin, because I don't want this team to get comfortable at all. I don't want them to feel good about themselves one bit. Not a bit. I need this team surly, salty, edgy, pissed off, disrespected, all that going into the playoffs, because I think that's going to be what the best of the Phillies that we'll see. That'll bring that out. I don't want the complacent first place. What would it be now if they win the division? Was it 3 straight now? Would it be 3 straight if they won the NL East this year? I don't want that. I want a team that's hanging on with their for their playoff lives by their teeth. So I don't want the Phillies to feel comfortable or good about themselves at all heading into the playoffs. I really don't. But I do echo the sentiments, and I especially echo those sentiments since the series in Minnesota and since the Miami Marlins series. Okay, it's not the Dodgers. Yeah, it's not the Brewers. Yeah, it's not the Braves. Yeah, it's not the Yankees. It's not. I mean, the American League is sort of wide open, but it's not against the teams that you would expect to see standing at the end of this thing when the smoke clears. I get you, but it's still against quality MLB opponents, and all these signs were pointing, especially as the Phillies were heading into Minnesota after that series in St. Louis, that we might be on the way down and out and sort of kind of coming in for a crash landing at this point. But they were able to find a way to pull themselves out of it and get some really quality wins, and they've strung together 2 straight series wins, 2 straight series sweeps, and have propelled themselves back in that relevant conversation. Now up to 70 wins. They can actually say it, stick out their chest a bit and say we're part of the big boy club again. We got 70 wins. And I guess, start feeling good about themselves, which I don't want them to do. But I do believe that the Phillies will make the playoffs, and I truly believe that heading into the playoffs, if we can get some sort of offensive flow going, some sort of offensive rhythm, continue to keep what we're doing, continue to get contributions down there from Stott and Bohm and something from Marsh, and just a little bit from JT. The others are going to get theirs, and the pitching will be there. I have no doubt that it won't be. It's always been there, and it's been there even through the worst of times in recent times. You never know at this point. And I know me and Joe Hale went around about this the other night. I want the Phillies to have to play in the wild card against the Dodgers. I want the world champs, the 2-time world champions, right off the bat, man. I want that series. I want it in Philly, which I won't get it, but I would like to have that series in Philly. It won't be there. It'll be in LA, which will cheapen the whole thing, because if it was in Philly, can you imagine a wild card series to kick off the playoffs, Phillies, Dodgers at the bank? Oh my God, man. It doesn't get any better than that. You got football season starting. It's got about a month old. Hockey's getting ready to rev up. It'll be about a week old. And you're going to throw in Phillies, Dodgers, wild card, best of 3 at Citizen Bank Park. Now, I'd pay $300 a ticket for that one. No, yeah. Oh, yes, I would. But it wouldn't be in Philly. It would more likely be in LA. But I still want the Dodgers, because I want to see what this team's got. And I don't want to be taking on a ride, through the first 2 rounds of the playoffs, or the first round against the Reds, and then, have to deal with the Braves or the Dodgers in the second round. No, I want somebody right up front. I want the Dodgers. I want the champs right up front. The Redbirds are coming to town, Dave, tomorrow night. Yes, sir. What's going on, Elephant? How are you? Little G's checking in. Little G, how are you tonight? Dave says big series for the Redbirds. They're only 2.5 out of the wild card. Look out, Phils. Yeah, and this is a big series for the Cardinals. And as the Phillies are going to be getting ready to embark on a funky, wonky West Coast trip next week, you got to come out of this series with at least a win, right? At least 2 out of 3. I'm not going to get greedy and want to sweep. I do, but I'll accept. I'll settle for a series win, another one, and it would be a twofold type thing, right? It would give us 2 more wins. Get us out on the road feeling confident, and it would put the Cardinals somewhat in the review. They would lose probably a game on the Phillies on that. So you got to start putting some of these lesser opponents, if that's what these guys are, you got to start putting them away here. You have an opportunity to. Had an opportunity back in friggin' St. Louis, but they could not. I know you did, Ricky. Don't worry about it, man. I'll be back next week, Ricky. We spend a lot of time talking together. It's almost a nightly thing that I know your internet's going to crap out at some point, so don't worry about it. I'll catch you on the next time, man. All good. Joe Hale's checking in. Hey, Joe, how are you tonight? Good to see you. Good to hear from you. Good to hear from everybody on this lovely Thursday night. But, yeah, it's a big series for the Phillies. And we got to keep doing what we've been doing. I want to see this team win more the way they've been winning since the last 6 games. I think I didn't. Let's bring up let MattyB bring up the old stat tracker here real quick, because I keep stats. I don't know why I do this, because I could actually get on the internet and just press a button and it'll all pop up in front of me. But I manually keep stats on this team throughout the season. I've been doing it since 2021. Every game, I keep a stat tracker of numbers and things that. Again, I don't know why I'm doing this. It's not 1995. I could literally find this on the internet, but I don't. I want to do it my way. But let's look at this. So the last 10 games. Where's the last 10 games? All right, here we go. The last 10 games. Last 10 Phillies games. 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8. So they've hit 8 home runs in their last 10 games. Now, you might say that's high. It's actually not, because if you look at this thing from the season standpoint, the Phillies are averaging about a home run and a half a game. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. I'm digging. I'm liking the fact that we're averaging less than a home run a game over the last 10 games. It's not leaps and bounds to get excited about. It's still 8, but still. They're finding many different ways to win, and I'm really enjoying that. Let's go Phillies. Yes, you mentioned. I did hear you say that. So post game Saturday, which one are you doing? Well, it's going to be dictated by who completes first. How did I do it last week? I don't remember how I did it last week. We'll see. Maybe the Phillies. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how the games kind of come down how they come down the home stretch here. Who finishes first? What the storylines are in the game, because the Eagles are going to be pretty bland anyway. It's not going to be. I'm not going to be breaking any news. We're not going to be sitting here breaking down X's and O's. We're going to be talking about how Keely Ringo still has a job and stuff like that. But we're not going to get into any kind of hot and heavy topics. So probably the Phillies. I don't know. We'll see. Don't know. I do. I keep them. So this is what I keep on a daily basis. Every game. Obviously, opponent, win, loss, or postponed, home or away, American League or National League. Phillies errors for the game, their opponent's errors for the games. Phillies grounded into double plays per game. Stolen bases for the Phillies in the game and their opponent's stolen bases. Phillies home runs and their opponents in the game. Phillies pitching strikes and how many times the Phillies struck out in a game. How many times the Phillies pitchers have walked batters in a game, and how many times the Phillies have walked. The Phillies are at RISP average in the game. Their opponent's RISP average. And then how many runners the Phillies left on base, how many of their opponents left on base. And then, of course, the runs. And I put a little notes in after every game of what might have happened. So that's what I do every night in every game. And I've been doing that since 2021. I must get a life. I must get a life. How is my umpiring doing? It's winding down. I'm down to probably, well, not to account for fall ball, but I'm down to about, I got 3 tomorrow, 4 possibly, 9 next week, 10. So about 14 games left in my summer season. About 14 games. And then I don't know. I don't even know if I'm doing fall ball this year. I got to go to an NCAA Division I camp at the end of September to get certified for next season to work Division I. I'm going to an MLB selection camp in Coney Island in Brooklyn on September 5th. See if I can get selected to go to Jackie Robinson, the training center down there in Florida, and get put in the MLB pipeline. I've been to that selection camp now 4 times. So this will be my 5th time going to that. I mean, it's winding down, but it's not like it was. I mean, there was a time earlier this month. Earlier this summer, I was doing 3 games a day, 4 games a day. I mean, at all different levels of baseball, like 12U, friggin' 16U, and then wrapping it up with a summer college game at night. I mean, I was all over the place doing games. Do you still use the scorecard at the games too? No, no. But when I was a kid, no, I never got into the scorecards. I never did. But as a kid, I used to do, I sit home, listen to the radio, the game, and I used to track it in a like a loose leaf folder or a notebook. And I used to do my own. I used to do the lineup, and I have the box score, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, whatever. And then I'd track it like that. I did that for years. And I still have some of those notebooks laying around that I used to do it. So, yeah, I mean, this is something that obviously didn't start when I was an adult. This is a problem that I had as a kid. Matty wanting Stubbs as your starting catcher, interesting. Absolutely. Again, in the context it was given. Tell me of a better option right now. Tell me of a better option currently knocking around the Phillies system or in the Phillies organization. When was the last time JT went 3 for 3 in a game? Hell, when was the last time he went 2 for 3? Right? Maybe I should have put it out like I don't want necessarily Garrett Stubbs as my starter. I just don't want JT Realmuto as my starter. Maybe that's the avenue I should have went up instead of the Garrett Stubbs avenue. My point of all of this is I just don't want JT. And this is not a funk of his offensive problems. He's not on a bad streak. No, this is JT. This is him offensively, and it ain't going to get any better the older he gets. And we're stuck with him for 2 more years. And you want to talk about a player that's got absolutely 0 trade value, especially with that contract, you're talking about JT Realmuto. So Dave Dombrowski painted himself into a corner with that whole catcher situation to begin with, and he had no choice. I'm not necessarily blaming Dave for doing it, because heading into the season without him, it would have been looking bleak from the very beginning. I mean, it's been bleak. But we got a serious problem with the catching situation here. A serious problem. Not only at the major league level, but at every level of the minors. There is nothing. It's so bad. It's so bad. That the Phillies drafted 2 catchers this summer. When was the last time? That's like drafting 2 goalies in a hockey draft, which the Flyers did this year again. But, I mean, they took, and I think it was like 5th and 7th round, or it was like middle rounds. It wasn't that low. It wasn't that high. Sort of right there in the middle. They took 2 catchers, and I believe it, actually, I think it was back-to-back rounds, like in the 5th and the 6th. They took 2 catchers in the draft this year. So for those of you that weren't paying attention to that, you missed an obvious sign that this organization is reeling right now from the catching situation. They have nothing. And right now, the best option is JT, and it's not a good enough option. It's not. So if Garrett Stubbs can go out there and give me a 2 for 3 or a 3 for 3, why not? I need somebody who can produce down there in somewhat of a way. So that's where I was coming with all that. So that sounds awesome. The possibility of MLB camp. That's not a possibility. I've been. Oh, you meant like to get selected? Yeah, no, it's really cool. So for those of you that don't know how it used to be, like I guess it was 6 years ago now, the MLB sort of streamlined this process because they want to control every aspect of they want to make sure their umpires are from the very beginning sort of going their way and training them the way they want. Everybody looks at Major League Baseball as the gold standard on everything, for a level of play, pay, compensation, technology, facilities, umpiring as well. But just like in every level that you'll do, starting with very low level stuff all the way up into Division I college, every organization that controls those things has their own way of training you, right? And it's weird, but everybody assumes that the MLB way is the only way. It's not the only way. It's a way, and there's specific things that they want their umpires to do. And listen, it's intensive. I know a couple of people that went through Jackie Robinson. So I'll lay this on you. This is how it usually goes. If you go to one of these selection camps, which they have about 5 or 6 of them throughout the summer, all over the country, and you have 3 hours, about 3 hours, and about 3 or 4 different stations to go through to impress these evaluators enough to say, you know what, this person's got something. And there's probably about 500 people there, right, trying to go through this. Now, there's somewhat of a political thing going on, and I'm not. Let's not be stupid. They're looking for younger people, guys in their 20s, guys in late teens. Actually, they want to start them like young. Women are sought after big time. Diversity, all that. I'm not saying it's right, but I'm just saying that's how they do. And they want the umpire image to be not of the the Joe West of the big burly guys. They want that kind of image to go away, and they want the umpires to be looked more as fit, athletic people. So they're kind of looking in that direction. So it's hard for me as a 52 or 53-year-old man who I think I'm fit. I can hold my own on a baseball field with younger people. But it's hard for me to break through with that in that demographic. But I'm going to keep trying until they tell me to stop coming. But so if you get selected after you go through about a 4-hour, it's like a 3-hour evaluation process. You do some plate work, which again, it's very watered down. It's hard for me to explain what it is if you don't know what I'm trying to explain. If that makes any sense. All these camps are kind of the same way. There's certain things they want you to work on. There's certain things they want to see and what have you. But you get about 3 hours, man, to sort of impress these people to the point where they're like, we're going to select you. Then you get a call or an email saying, hey, you've been selected. Now we want you to report down the Jackie Robinson Training Center in Vero Beach in like the second week of January, or it's like a couple of days after New Year's. And then you go there and you're literally living in this facility for about 2.5 months and eating, sleeping, drinking, baseball, and umpiring. That's all you do every day. Your day is consisted of, it's like college life, but for umpires. And your mornings are all classroom, all morning long. You're in classroom. You're doing scenarios. You're going over rules. You're doing just every day, and you're being evaluated on every aspect of what you're doing. They're watching everything you do. And then in the afternoon, you go out and do field work. which could be drills, footwork, stuff like that. And then at the end of the day, you do simulating game. You do they break you into a group, and Group A goes and does a simulated game for the last 2 hours of the day, and Group B continues on the field work. It's something like that. But it's like that for 2.5 months. 2.5 months of that. And then at the end of that, they then they put you on an OML, and they send you either to the ACL or the FCL or the DSL. And then you start a mentoring program. You don't get on the field. You start hanging around these games with an umpire. Like, you go to the games, you sit there, you watch the game with an umpire sitting next to you, and you basically run the game through in your mind, right? And they quiz you as you go through the game. Then eventually you'll find your way onto the field. But it's a laborious process from the time if you get selected up until the time that you might actually get onto an MLB field and do an MLB game. It's probably like a 7-year type of situation, because you got to go all the way through every level of the minors. Then you got to get hired on at some point as a full-time employee and get put on a crew, and that's what takes the longest. So, but it's a cool process. And one of these days, I'm going to mess around and get a phone call and get selected, and then I'm going to be like, "Oh God, do I have time for this?" Which the answer is no. But I'd go, absolutely go. I would have a blast down there. Send JT back to the Marlins. Yes, I don't think they take him. You want Jorge Alfaro back? I do. I hate to see JT this way. Again, is it me? Is it me, or is there something wrong? Right? I mean, this is not something that I'm picking on him. Right? I'm not ragging on him for having 10 games of not hitting well. He is not woken up offensively all season. Right? And it's almost like he's an automatic out down there. What's he got? 8 home runs on the year? I mean, that's pathetic for him. Pathetic. What am I drinking? Ginger ale. I am drinking ginger ale. Nervous baseball is good baseball. I love this time of the year, especially when the Phillies are playing for something important. Right, Jose, and that's my point. I don't want this team to feel comfortable and coast, because in the years that they've done that, they've come up short in some of the more frustrating ways known. The blowing a 3-2 lead in the NLCS against the Arizona Diamondbacks with 2 straight home games to clinch the series. Then going out and getting completely embarrassed by the Mets. And then the Dodger series, which everybody is, and it's funny because it's long enough ago to where people obviously remember it, but we don't remember the kind of the specifics of the games that we watched throughout that series. The Phillies' offense was non-existent the entire series. It was the pitching that kept them in that series. And everyone's like, well, they were that one play from Kerkering away. They were actually, that wasn't really the play. It was the missed strike call on the Sanchez pitch in the 7th that would have ended the rally. And that was an obvious. I gotta say, I gotta call it as it is. That was a strike. That was a strike 6 ways to Sunday, man. And they blew the call. ABS would have fixed that. But, you're trying to nurse a 1-0 lead against the Dodgers in the playoffs late in the game, and you can't get any kind of offense going to give you at least a 2-run cushion. I mean, you're doomed to lose that game. And I see it on the fields every day, right? At all levels. Complaining about one pitch or one bounce of the ball or one missed call or one whatever. Oh, it cost us the game. Well, what about the other 26 outs you had? Or what about all the other eight innings that you had the play in? I mean, what about those innings? How can you live your life in that way by saying, oh, it was one pitch, it was one foul ball, it was one fair ball, it was one missed strike, it was whatever. Well, what about the other innings, man, that you failed? So in that game against the Dodgers, and we all remember for the Kerkering thing, correct? That's obviously what that game will always be remembered for. But you didn't give yourselves any type of room to breathe against the world champions. And you're trying to nurse a 1-0 lead against the Dodgers. It's bound to blow up in your face. So the offense disappeared in that series. And it also disappeared in the Mets series, and it disappeared in game 5 or game 6 and 7 against the Diamondbacks. Disappeared towards the back end of the World Series. How do you go from hitting 7 home runs in one game, or 5 home runs, 6 home runs in one game, to getting no hit the next night? I mean, how does that happen, man? I mean, that's crazy. That's crazy talk, but it happened to this team. So I want to make sure that the Phillies go into these playoffs understanding that this is not given to them, that they fought and they scraped their way for every bit of what they got. Age catches up quickly with the catchers, and honestly, he's not been the same hitter for at least a year. Yeah, you're right. You're right, but when age creeps up on you, you don't usually get that contract extension for 3 years and $14 million. We might see MattyB in the MLB and having to deal with the ABS system. I don't have a problem with ABS. I totally don't have a problem with ABS. I do not. I think that it's all about and again, another thing about umpires, at least me, I don't have an ego on the field. It might sound weird to you guys that I'm not actually this kind of person when I'm on the field. I'm very professional. I'm in charge. But it's all about getting the call right. It's not about whether I was right or wrong. It's about getting the call right. Now, we don't have ABS in lower level. Now, college is getting ready to start it this year. I think Division I is going to it this year. I want to say that they are. Certain conferences are doing it. I think it's going to be mandatory in 2028 at the college level, that Division I. I don't know about the other divisions, but they are getting ready to adopt it. And it's a great system because it's about getting the call right. It's not about my ego or I was right or I was wrong. It's not about that. It's about getting the call right. And ABS provides you that. So inherently, I think ABS is a good thing. Now, what it's being used as is a way to sort of tell the umpires or exploit the umpires as being stupid or not knowing how to do their jobs. And that's wrong because it's about getting the call right. And that's why they have replay and they have challenges and all that. It's about getting the call right because we are human beings and we miss stuff. Now, that's used to be part of the mystique of the game. And I know some of the purists out there are mad because they're taking that away from the game. Hell, there's pitchers in the league right now that don't like ABS because they like the human factor of what's happening. It makes them be better. They look at it that way. So I don't have a problem with ABS. Not in one bit. I think it's a great system, and I think that it's probably going to evolve throughout the years as we go in. They're probably going to change some things about it. I know there was some questions early on in the season whether or not the calibrations were too far back on the plate and that they were catching the ball too late as it was going through the zone. There was some questions about that very early on in the season, and that allegedly that was the case, and they sort of moved it up a little further to catch the ball as it was initially descending into the strike zone. So there's some tweaks that are going to happen along the way, but I'm 100% in favor of it. What kind of soda do you like? That ginger ale. I'm a ginger ale drinker. Been that way for a long time. Apple juice out of like a little like box, like a child. You put a little straw in, like that kind of apple juice. Just kidding. Oh man. All right, we're about 51 minutes in. 51 minutes into the show on a slow sports night in Philadelphia. Nothing's really going on our local scene. Phillies are not in play tonight. Eagles will be back tomorrow as they will get week 2 against the Patriots underway up in Foxborough. They just wrapped up their joint practices. And, of course, all the media was talking about, or mostly, was the off the field or in between the snaps interaction between A.J. Brown and the Eagles. Does any of this matter to anybody? I mean, really, is this something that people really are interested in? And I really want to ask that question because I'm not interested in it. I don't care. I don't care. We got our own problems right now to deal with instead of dealing with AJ Brown. And that's, I think it's waste. It's a waste of time. You think they should get more challenges during the game for ABS? No, I like the way they've done that. I do like the way they've done that. Now they do need to refine the actual, like, when you leave subjective terms like judgment, in my opinion, what is it? A discernible stop. When you put words like that in, it leaves way too much things open for interpretation. They need to refine the time limit that you have to challenge. Again, I don't know how you do this. I don't know if you do a one Mississippi, two. All right, you can't do it anymore. I don't know what the system would be, but the immediate verbiage in challenging a ball or strike has already sort of kind of hit the rocky shoals, right? And we're getting ready for the playoffs. Now the playoffs are going to be a whole other animal when it comes to ABS. Everything is going to be so microscopic. Everything is going to be to the gnat's ass in the playoffs, right? And that's what I think it's going to kind of come back and bite MLB a little bit on the butt because they don't have like a set way of like, this is the time limit you have, or this is the instant where you can't do it again. I think the subjective, like, immediate term might kind of cause a problem in the playoffs because somebody might get denied a challenge because in the umpire's judgment, it wasn't immediate. I don't know if you can fix that about it, but yeah, I don't know. I think they need to kind of tweak that. What am I looking forward to in the Eagles game? I'm looking forward to seeing Joe Hale a more prepared football team, regardless of who's in between the tackles and who's playing. I don't care. I would like to see a starter or two. Honestly, Jalen Hurts needs to play. All what we're hearing about his struggles in practice and not being able to throw down the middle, or now it's even worse. Before he was incompleting passes down the middle. Now he's getting picked off down the middle. I think Jalen Hurts needs to play. And I think he needs to play with a semblance of the playbook he's going to be running this year. I'm not asking you to go deep into the playbook and roll out a play that you're going to use in December, but I think you need to run him and that first team offense through a quarter, a possession or two, and have them sort of flex their muscles a bit and show some sort of competence in running an offense. Because all we're hearing right now is how disjointed the Eagle offense is and how terrible it looks in practice. And, I don't know what that means for the gameplay, but I honestly think seeing the offensive unit play in a couple series, maybe a quarter, potentially a half, I don't think that's outside the realm of possibility. And that's what I would love to see overall. But if that's not the case and they don't play, just a better prepared team and a game plan that's allowing them to be a little bit more like football players instead of like pedestrians, like passersby or, sightseers or paid spectators, that kind of thing. I want to see this team get a little bit more involved in what's happening on the field. And I want to see a little bit more preparedness from the coaching standpoint from these players. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. My wish list, above all wish list, is to see the offensive starters play for at least a series or two, or even a quarter or two. But I don't know if I'll get that. Oh, man, are you doing fantasy baseball? Never got into fantasy baseball. I'm in the fantasy football. I play that every year. I am the defending champion last year of my league. I'm in a whole different league this year, but I won my league last year. Only the second time in my fantasy life I've done that. But I'm bringing a championship title to the. I'm going to be a defending champ in my league, which is not the same league I was in last year, but a different league. But I'm going to be the defending champ. So can't wait for that. My draft is the Saturday before the season starts. AJ Brown is gone. I don't care anymore. Do you, and Adam? I'm going to ask you this question, and I want you to look in the mirror and answer it. Don't answer it to me. I want you to find a mirror in your home, and I want you to answer this question. And I want you to look at yourself in the mirror. Do you really? Is that true? In the deepest recesses of your body, in your subconscious mind, in the subconscious of the subconscious mind, do you really mean that? Because I'm going to say you don't. And hear me out. Hear me out. I think you do care, because I honestly think you, and again, I'm not ragging on you. I don't mean no disrespect. You and a lot of the other Eagle fans out there are pissed off that AJ Brown is gone. You're pissed off he's gone. You're pissed off they weren't, kumbayaing around the fire, singing songs together, holding hands, bestest of friends. There was a splinter between the two of them, Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown, or AJ Brown and the entire team, whatever. It wasn't all sunshine and rainbows in that locker room as everybody was allegedly reporting it to be. It wasn't. And I think that bothers you. It does. Deep down, it bothers you. It bothers you that AJ Brown, the talent that he is now doing it for the Patriots. And all the stuff that happened with him here. Because you didn't want to believe that was true. And again, not you personally, but you as in your group of fans in that side of the Eagle fan base. Call them what they want. And I'm not going to say the H word, but in that side of the Eagle fan base, it does piss you people off. It annoys you because you were told, or you wanted to believe, and again, not you personally, but you wanted to believe that everything was sunshine and rainbows inside that locker room, when it never was. And all the people that kept saying AJ Brown's going to do something, or AJ Brown is the leak, AJ Brown is this, AJ Brown is the cancer, AJ Brown is all, yeah, shut up, I don't want to hear that no more. You didn't want to hear that because you didn't want to think it was true. But now that it's true, and it's out there that it is, and it was always true, and he worked his way out of town, you do care. You do care, because it pisses you off that the gold standard Philadelphia Eagles organization may not be the gold standard after all. You might feel a little used. You might feel a little duped. You might feel a little bamboozled. And you have every right to feel that way. And again, not you personally. Because AJ Brown, like him or lump him, is one of the top 10 great wide receivers in the game right now. And he's not doing it for us anymore. And what has Howie Roseman done to replace him? I guess that's the question last night. Where is the replacement? Who is that guy? Or do we now have, as Steve Nooms says, the 0-3 Eagles offense with a bunch of number 2s and 3s trying to fill the void of a 1? Because we don't have a 1. Devontae Smith isn't a 1. Don't try to talk yourself into that one. He's not. Lemon is an unknown. And then the other 19 wide receivers are all going to fight it out for 6 roster spots. There is no number 1 wide receiver. And more importantly, how is the absence of a number 1, a safety net, the YOLO king himself, the 50-50 boy himself, how is that going to affect your quarterback when he doesn't have that net no more to throw to? That's why it pisses you off. Again, not you personally, Adam. I'm just saying, I'm putting it out there in a psychological type of way. AJ was a nutcase and his behavior was tiring. It was. I'm not denying any of that, but people didn't want to believe that. There was a time, what was it, like 3 years ago? Remember when he went on WIP and tried to defend himself? Wasn't it right? The season, the first collapse, right? The 23 collapse coming off of the the 22 Super Bowl. Remember when they were out there drawing plays up in the ground in Seattle on the last play? Well, during that collapse, isn't that when the leaks began coming out of the locker room about X, Y, and Z? And everybody was like, it's A.J. Brown, it's A.J. Brown, it's A.J. Brown. And then there was a group of fans. Stop saying that. A.J.'s not a nutcase. He's a diva, but every wide receiver is. But he's fine. He's just like any other diva wide receiver. No, he wasn't. No, he was he was an actual issue. But we learned to live with it. Or we didn't necessarily learn to live with it. A certain part of the fan base learned to deny it and didn't want to accept the truth. And now here we are, X amount of years later, knowing that it was all real. It was all true. That they weren't best friends. And when I mean they, I mean the Eagles in general, not necessarily A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts. But they weren't best friends. That there was division inside that locker room. That they all weren't brothers in arms. That it wasn't necessarily we all we got, we all we need. That wasn't really what was happening in that locker room. And that scares a lot of Eagle fans because now they're forced to understand or recognize that the team may not be what they thought it was. And I'm putting it out there right now, Elephant. I don't think the Eagles win the Super Bowl this year. I don't even think the Eagles get anywhere near the Super Bowl. Right? I don't. I honestly don't. I think the Eagles' window has closed. And I'm going to tell you why I believe that. Because right now, this organization is in a state of flux. Again, fans don't want to believe that. Fans want to believe that this season is just like any other status quo season in this little run that they're on, right? They want to believe that nothing has changed. But how can you deny the amount of change that has occurred that we've seen in just a little bit of time up to now? No number one wide receiver. Another offensive coordinator who's not done this ever before is going to come in here and try to teach Jalen Hurts another new system. An influx of change of coaching personnel on the offensive side of the ball. That's a new one, right? That's a new nuance to what's been happening when we're going through all these offensive coordinators. It was just the coordinator, and it was the people that were currently here, but not with Mannion. Mannion brought his own people here. That tells you that there's more change coming. There's more changes to this product coming because I know, and I think the Eagles know it, and I'm going to give Howie a lot of credit here on this one. He sees the handwriting on the wall. He doesn't want to be that GM anymore. He doesn't want to completely have to go through offensive coordinators year after year after year. No, he wants a innovative, fresh operating offense that is multifaceted and multi-leveled and layered. He doesn't have that here. And he brought in Mannion with the hopes, with the McVay upbringing and McVay treeness, that he's going to eventually implement that system down the line. It's not going to happen in 2026. It's going to start in 26, but you're going to see problems with it in 26, mainly because Mannion doesn't have the right personnel to run his offense. And that's a reality that's going to slap a lot of Eagles fans in the face this year as they watch this offense struggle all year. But this is a bigger thing. This is not to ensure that Sean Mannion is our offensive coordinator for the next 5 years. No, this is Nick Sirianni's replacement. This is who Sean Mannion is. Because Howie Roseman doesn't want to miss out on the next greatest offensive mind. And he knows if he doesn't promote from within, he's going to lose Mannion. And it's going to take Mannion a couple years, maybe 3, to bring in all the right people to run his offense. His offense. So a lot of Eagles fans don't see that handwriting on the wall for the season. I do. And I know it's going to come as a shock as things begin to sort of kind of, develop. But I think that's what we're going to see. I think they'll be a competitive team that makes the playoffs. But other than that, I totally agree with you about them not making much noise. IJ the playoffs. Coach is a fraud. But it goes deeper than that, right? I honestly think they're trying to fix it. I do. And I think what they're doing is they're bringing in a new way of doing business. And none of us have a crystal ball. And I obviously, we got to wait and kind of see how this thing's. But if I was a betting man, I'm telling you, a year from today, as we're getting ready for the start of the 2027 season, I think it's with a new head coach and a new quarterback. 100% agree. That's what I believe. And maybe that's Sean Mannion as the head coach. I don't know. Maybe he's still the offensive coordinator because he's still trying to figure things out. I bet my bottom dollar Nick Sirianni's not here a year from now. My bottom dollar on that. But a lot of Eagles fans are blind to this. They think it's just another year to compete and try to win a Super Bowl. They're not seeing the bigger picture here. They can't read between the lines. They're not looking at what Howie did in the offseason by allowing Sean Mannion to pretty much draft his players and bring in his people. And they've never done that before when they've been going through all these offensive coordinators. This is just the guy, maybe a couple support people. But they fired Stoutland. They've moved on from that philosophy. You got Lane Johnson saying he's retiring. Now, I don't know how much that is being prompted by the removal of Stoutland and the handwriting on the wall that he sees, or the fact that he's just had it. It might be a combination of all that. The Eagles are trying to turn the page, and I'm not saying it's wrong. God knows I want to change, and I need Sirianni gone. I don't think he is a fraud, as you said. He's a terrible head coach. And I also want Hurts gone, because right now I don't see Jalen Hurts taking that next step. When is he going to do that? When is that next step for this alleged elite quarterback going to happen? We're talking about a quarterback that failed to complete passes in two separate halves of football in two separate games this year or last year. I don't. When do you ever talk about that with an elite quarterback? They're known to move on from quarterback at the right time. They are. And again, I'm not saying Jalen Hurts is the wrong quarterback in the NFL. If the Eagles do move off of Hurts, he'll find a job easily. But in the system that I think we're starting to run here and we're developing and implementing and putting people in place to do, I don't think he's the right quarterback here. Not that he might not be the right quarterback somewhere else, but I don't think the right quarterback here in what they're doing now. They're getting away from the run and gunness of what Hurts was doing early on in his career. They're forcing him to learn how to be an offensive quarterback, an actual quarterback, a mechanical quarterback. And I don't know if he can do it. Now, there could be a team out there that wants him to do what he does and be very successful at doing that. But I don't think that's the Eagles right now. But Eagles fans don't want to see that. They just see, it's just a different play caller, going to give him a different perspective. No. I don't see that at all. I see the wave of the future. The future. Isn't Hurts almost 30? Quarterbacks don't usually get better at 30. Is he almost 30? Has it been that long? Oh, so who's the quarterback in 2027? Rookie or veteran? I don't know. Because barring a complete disaster from this team, they're not going to be high enough involved in the Arch Manning sweepstakes. I don't think they're going to. The bottom's not going to fall out on them. They are too talented of a team to not go at least 9-8. I don't know who the quarterback would be. That's a great question. I don't know. It would have to be a veteran. Or they could package their first round pick along with the Patriots' first round pick and a couple future first round picks and try to move up and get involved in the Arch Manning sweepstakes. Right? Or maybe there's another kid out there in college that he covets. I don't know. It'll eventually be a rookie. They'll eventually want to build around a kid that Mannion wants. Right? The best thing that could happen to the Eagles is they fall apart and that they are in that top 5, top 3 discussion with multiple draft picks at their disposal. That would be the best thing that happens to them for the future, but I don't know if that's really going to happen. Hurts just turned 28. Yeah, I mean, it's been that long, man. Well, this is what? Year what? 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. This is year 6 of his starting. This will be his 6th year as our starting quarterback. Wow. Thanks, MP. I thought he was. Yeah, I mean, well, 28, 29, same thing. All right. So we are now up to about an hour and 15 minutes. Again, reminder everybody, this is what's coming up on the rest of the week for here at the network. Tomorrow night, the Philly Friday Frenzy will be on a little bit later than at 9 o'clock time frame, probably on closer to 10 o'clock than 9 o'clock. Al's got a last-minute scheduling thing he's going to have to work out. We also have an add-on to tomorrow at 6:45, the Steel City Sunday show, the perennial Pittsburgh Steelers pre- and post-game show will be on the air. They will be previewing Steelers and Jets, John Phillips and company. Give them a check out. On Saturday, you'll have the best of the It's a Wrap Sports of the week. You'll also have some double duty of me on the post games, both the Titans final and the Bears flyby. So, and then on Sunday, no Philly AM as they're taking the week off to prepare for the grind that will be the September-October timeframe. And then the Titans final, I will be back for the Titans final at some point on Sunday afternoon. No final word with MattyB on Sunday. I got somewhere I got to be Sunday night. So, I'll be back on Monday with that show. So there you have the rest of the week on the network. Let's go to our final segment of the night. Let's wrap this up. I have a card for you tonight. Now, I don't have a card. I don't have a fancy little graphic prepared. I just have the card that I want to talk about. So let's run that, and we'll do that real quick. All right, so this is MattyB's card review. This is the time of the show, my favorite time of the show, when I sit back and we talk about a little bit about sports cards and one of my growing obsessions. Getting back into sports card collecting, I did about 2 or 3 years ago. So tonight we're going to go into 2026. We're staying in the present tonight. About 3 weeks ago, the Topps released a 2026 Chrome set. Now, the Chrome and Chrome Update are probably the 2 most valuable sets. When I say valuable, I mean like bang for your buck value that you'll get every year with Topps, these types of cards. And they always have a gimmick or 2 associated with them. They come out in blaster boxes, mega boxes, hobby boxes, collector's boxes. And the value of these boxes dictates the value of the card that you may find in there. Now they'll put big money cards in all the boxes, but if you're going to say, for example, go get a box of a mega box, which sometimes they run close to about $500 a box of cards, and inside the box you got about 20 packs, right? Now in these packs you have a guaranteed auto. You have a guaranteed on auto. You have certain guaranteed cards that you're going to find in there, and those are the big money ones. But if you want to mess with hobby boxes, or if you want to mess with just the straight stuff that people do out in the open market, for like the hobby box, for example, comes with 7 packs of 4 cards, and there's hits in there, but and they're about $30 a box, right? So it all depends on what you're angling for when it comes to sports cards. I know it's a big business out there. I'm not necessarily in it for the money making. I've been selling cards now for the last going on 2 years, and I haven't even cracked $1,000 yet. So it's not that I'm looking for the big money, but people out there are. I mean, they're looking. There's people out there that make a living doing this, but so I went out and I got a hobby box last night of Topps Chrome. By the way, it took me forever to find it. I've been looking for weeks for these damn cards, but then no one has them. They can't keep them on the shelves because they just came out. And inside this hobby box, I pulled a card that's not necessarily going to set the world on fire, but it is a cool card that's got potential growth involved in it later down the line. It's from a rookie card. And it's got potential. Again, I'd have no graphic, but I'm going to show you the card right off the bat. It's a 2026 Chase the Lauder rookie card from the Chrome set. The wave length thing. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, there you can kind of see it there. It's a refractor, but it's they call it the wave. What do they actually call it? The Ray Wave refractor. This card actually has already hit the seller's market, and as an ungraded card right now, it's valued. It's already sold for about $11 as an ungraded card, and then there's actually people that have already graded this thing as a PSA 10, and that card is going for about $150 right now. So this is for a player, a rookie card of Chase the Lauder this year. Now he's a good young rookie. This 2026 in general has got some really good rookie cards in it. The Lauder. Why can't I think of any of them? Yes, Verge, the kid from Toronto, the kid from the White Sox, kid from the Blue Jays. There's some really good rookie cards. You got what's his name plays for the JJ Weatherholt for the Cardinals. I mean, there's some really good cards in this year's 2026 rookie index, and Chase is one of them. And so for a box of cards that cost me $30 last night, I pull a potentially $150 value card. That's a hit. You know, that's definitely a hit. And it's a cool looking card. Chrome is by far and away, along with Chrome Update, is by far and away the two most lucrative series of cards. If you're looking to make money, those are the two sets you go after because there's where all the money is. Chrome cards are just expensive in general because of what they're made of and how they're made and all that. But you factor in the on autos, you factor in the relic cards, you factor in the refractors, you factor in all that stuff. It makes the Chrome and Chrome Update that much more valuable. So I just wanted to kind of talk about it a little bit. I was very happy when I pulled this last night. The 2026 Topps Chrome Ray Wave refractor of Chase the Lauder of the Guardians. And right now, at a very early point of its financial growth, it's somewhat lucrative. And I've already made my investment back from the box that I bought. So, and that's what it really kind of boils down to. So and that was probably the biggest pull I had out of the Chrome. Now, I also bought a bunch of Series 2 2026, and we'll get into some of the cards I pulled out of that on future shows. And I got some really good insert cards. Now, inserts are not, depends on what the insert is, but they're not necessarily that valuable. But I did pull a Hank Aaron 2026 insert, a numbered card. I believe it was purple glitter refractor. So that I haven't really done any. I've literally been going a million miles an hour. I haven't really sat down and looked at any of these cards that deep yet, but that was a pretty nice pull from that set. But inserts are tough. Inserts are tough to get to sort of get a finger on. But this card is an actual, it's not an insert; it's a parallel. And it's the 2026 Chase the Lauder Ray Wave Refractor out of 2026 Topps Chrome. So there you have tonight's card of the night, or card review of Chase the Lauder. So I hope you guys enjoyed that as much as I enjoyed putting that together. Yeah, it's a pretty cool card. And yes, thank you, Dave. All right, folks, we are coming up on the bottom of the hour of our telecast. Let's wrap it up. I will not be back till Monday, but we'll have some fun with that Monday, and we'll have plenty of new things to talk about. Hopefully, it's a series sweep of the Cardinals. Hopefully, there's some light to the Eagles against the Patriots, and hopefully, the Flyers make a move. Running out of time here with that. So we'll try to get into all that coming up on Monday. You guys remember everything that's happening on the network one more time. Let's take a look at the schedule, our calendar. This is what's going down on the network this week. Please make sure you're standing by, tuning in, tuning out, and all those great things and all the great shows that are coming up. You guys have yourself a great Thursday night. Have yourselves a great weekend. I won't see you again till Saturday night when I'll be doing double duty post game. But enjoy your weekend. Enjoy the end of your work week. Enjoy everything that comes with that. It's been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you for your contributions. Thank you for being part of this, and enjoy your night. So we'll talk later. Take care.